All right. What is up, everybody? We are live. A few things happening in the wild, wild world of motorsports. First off, cool move by Richard Childress and the gang there. They're helping out Mike Harmon Racing. They'll let him use the points from, I think, their 33 car so that he is assured of making the field for this race. And of course, that helps him out financially because he knows his sponsor is now guaranteed to be in the race. So that's just a really cool, like, sort of like behind the scenes move type of deal to get struck between these teams. And it just shows you how all these teams do at the end of the day care about each other outside of trying to compete on the racetrack. They do all want to see each other succeed. It's a great story right there. So I think that's a good deal. So I wanted to start off with that one. Start off with some positivity because for some these other stories aren't necessarily going to be positive. Sticking in the Dillon camp, Ty Dillon will get replaced by, and I forgot to write the guy's name down. Basically, the owner of Rackley Ware Racing, the main guy over there. He's going to put his son or nephew or somebody, some of his kin. People always complain about Ty Dillon being only having a ride because of who his grandfather is, and he's now being replaced because of nepotism. So that's super interesting story. So all the people cheering that Ty Dillon has lost a ride is over at Rackley We're Racing in the truck. You're sort of cheering the exact same thing that you complain about him about. So interesting story there. It seems unlike some of the other ones like Timothy Peters and Matt DiBenedetto, where things seem sour. This one actually seems amicable, and I think the reason for that is I'm just throwing it out there that Ty Dillon is going to be splitting time with Austin Hill or just driving full time over there at Colleague next season. I think that's probably why they're splitting amicably here, even though it's with a few races left, they're going to get some extra season. I think his name's Sutton. His last name's Sutton. I can't remember his first name. Dawson Sutton, maybe something like that. Anyway, so those two stories are out there, but the main story today is from Adam Stern in the Sports Business Journal, and that, of course, is FedEx is expected to reduce its role at Joe Gibbs Racing, further reduce. So they've been reducing for several years. I remember I made a story about this maybe 2 years ago, and people were not happy about it. They were like, "Oh, you're making stuff up, and you just hate Joe Gibbs Racing and stuff like that." So this one is always kind of emotional, which I wasn't. I was just going off of what the CEO of FedEx was saying actually at the time. But yeah, so this one always gets emotional. And the reason for that is FedEx has been with Joe Gibbs Racing since 1999, I think. Anyway, Adam Stern doing the reporting here. Sources: FedEx expected to further reduce presence with Joe Gibbs Racing after 2024, could exit the iconic deal entirely. This is in the Sports Business Journal. And he goes on to say in here, FedEx is expected to continue reducing its sponsorship presence with Joe Gibbs Racing after this season and could conclude the long-time deal altogether. According to people familiar with the matter, a move would end one of the more winning driver-sponsor combinations in NASCAR history. The Memphis-based global delivery and logistics giant has been a major sponsor of the team since 2005. Okay, so since 2005. And in its height, it was spending close to $25 million a year just in rights and fees to JGR. The company or its divisions and sub brands over the years have sponsored every race on Denny Hamlin's number 11 Toyota during NASCAR's 38 event schedule up until 2021 when it began. So I guess I made that one in 2021. Began cutting back, and JGR started finding other companies to fill the open positions. This season, it's only appeared as a primary sponsor 10 times. So 10 times, and they've been doing it since 2005. Huge deal. Like, some people have never some younger fans have never even known the sport without the FedEx car being there and it being the number 11. So this thing is absolutely iconic, and it goes into a long history here of big time sponsors that you just recognize with a driver or a or a team in particular going away. Of course, 2 years ago it was M&Ms and Kyle Busch. We never thought we would not see Kyle Busch A in a Toyota, and B not driving an M&M's Toyota for Joe Gibbs Racing. So it continues down that path, and you can name off 100 more. I'm not going to go down the list and name every single one, but I do feel like that's the most recent iconic one. And other people that it's bad news for NASCAR. I think somebody pointed out that Geico has pulled out of the sport as a title sponsor for the series itself. So not looking like the greatest from the economic downturn perspective of things. But let's continue on and see what else he had to say. JGR started finding other companies to fill open positions. This season, it's only appeared as a primary sponsor 10 times so far, including this upcoming weekend at Kansas, with other sponsors on the number 11, including Mavis Tires and Brakes, Sport Clips, Interstate Batteries, and Yahoo. JGR has been in the market looking for new sponsors for the number 11 for next year, sources say, and it's being done in anticipation of FedEx dropping more and possibly all. So this is going to be the interesting part of its remaining primary positions. It could not be confirmed whether JGR was still holding last-ditch talks with FedEx, and sides have yet to comment on the matter. FedEx did not respond to a request for comment, while JGR did, in fact, decline for comment as well. So neither side is going to talk about it. And here's the part of the story where it gets super interesting. Does FedEx go away forever, like M&Ms, like Geico, and things like that? That's where it becomes super sticky and a tricky situation, because then you've got to fill in 10 races. Although at this point it's only 10 races, it's not like sort of the M&Ms deal where they had to fill in all of them. But you do have to fill in 10 races that you hadn't been trying to fill in. Or if they just, let's just say they scale it back to half and the FedEx car is only on there for half the races, you only have to find 5 races to fill it in. Well, if you go back to when they let Kyle Busch go, they said they didn't want to piece together sponsorship deals. They wanted main sponsors. They didn't want to just piece together a race here and a race there. Well, now with the way everything is trending and going, it looks like they're going to have to take that model. And I do feel like maybe Interstate would step up or something like that. I feel like Interstate's pretty strong. They have always stepped up and stepped to the plate, which when they let Kyle Busch go, I didn't understand why, Interstate didn't step up there, but that's just me thinking out loud. That has nothing to do with this. That's a whole side tangent, and I'm just going to ignore that. I shouldn't even got off onto it. I don't know. Been a long day and it popped out. Sorry. Anyway, it's so hard to imagine next season we could possibly see Denny Hamlin not in a FedEx car like that. For a lot of people, we haven't seen that in 20 something years. Okay. So for that to happen, or close to 20 years, I guess I should say, since I guess 2025 was the first official deal. So just super, super crazy. I thought FedEx at some point would reduce their role, but FedEx has gotten the ship turned in the right direction. If you look at their stocks and all that, everything they've done as far as reorganizing the company and stuff like that, at least in the stock market, has translated, at least last time I looked, has translated. And I'm far from an expert, but last time I looked, everything was trending upwards for them. So I thought they were back on the path to recovery, but they still apparently are still not thinking about it. In fact, let's talk about, he actually talks about it right here. So let's go to this next quote. FedEx has been reshuffling its sports marketing portfolio in recent years amid a broader cost-cutting drive, including this past season ending its longtime stadium naming rights deal with the Commanders, the franchise that JGR owner Joe Gibbs coached to 3 Super Bowl wins. That deal had been in place since 1999. So that's the one I was thinking that had been in place since 1999, was the football stadium deal. So they're pulling, and the NFL is the biggest moneymaker as far as like sporting in the United States goes. So if they're pulling money out of NFL type avenues, and they basically pulled all the money out of, I guess, the naming rights for the stadium, it doesn't really bode well for Joe Gibbs Racing. The only real saving grace here is that Joe Gibbs does have a really good relationship with the owner, the overall owner, I guess, the founder or executive chairman. And here it says it right here. Joe Gibbs is close with Fred Smith, the founder and executive chairman of FedEx, and the delivery company has landed tangible business-to-business revenue through its JGR relationship on top of advertising exposure. So that right there, but the publicly traded company announced last year that it planned to cut 4 billion in costs by fiscal 2025, including 1.5 billion in the general and administrative area. So I guess that's where the sports marketing revenue comes from. So they have gotten tangible business from the Joe Gibbs deal. So that is one thing that's good. So maybe Joe Gibbs himself can keep it alive. I know Harris Blitzer Sports and Entertainment has invested heavily into Joe Gibbs Racing. Maybe they can find sponsorship, and maybe Joe Gibbs can keep it alive for maybe. I would hate to see FedEx leave completely. I hope FedEx stays for at least one or two races for Denny Hamlin for the rest of his career until he wants to retire or go part time or whatever. I would like to see FedEx stick around. I don't want to see a Jimmy Johnson's situation where Cobalt Tools goes away, like or a Kyle Busch situation where or I guess Lowe's Home Improvement, Cobalt Tools, same sort of deal, or a Kyle Busch situation where M&M's goes away. I don't want to see that situation for Denny Hamlin. I do want to see him retire as the FedEx man. He'll always be the FedEx man, but you know what I'm saying. I want to see him go all the way through, sort of like Richard Petty went just about all of his entire career through with STP. I want to see one more guy like that. I think Chase Elliott with Napa would be another one that might be able to pull that off and go all the way through. There's a handful of them out there that could still possibly do it. So I don't know, but just I don't know, sort of a bummer. I hate it when big main sponsors go away and it's not looking good. But that is the poll question. What do you think is going to happen with FedEx? Do you think they will reduce to fewer races? Do you think they're going to leave altogether? Do you think Adam Stern made it up? These last two are jokes. Or do you think they make a heel turn and sponsor Kyle Busch at RCR? Also a joke. Which if I'd been thinking about it, I guess his actual arch nemesis would be Ross Chastain. So the real heel turn would be go sponsor Ross Chastain at Trackhouse. Whoever, I don't know who's Denny Hamlin's biggest nemesis this season. I don't know. He's golfing buddies with Kyle Larson, so that one wouldn't really count. So I don't know, either Ross Chastain or Kyle Busch. Like that would be the Joey Logano. Is maybe Joey Logano still the biggest heel or his biggest rival? So maybe it goes over there to Joey Logano. That would be the biggest heel turn. Anyway, those last two are for fun. But yeah, 42% right now saying it's going to leave altogether. 29% saying it's going to reduce to fewer races. I'm personally hoping they just reduce to fewer races and we still see it out there because it would just be, I don't want to see another driver lose basically a lifetime sponsorship right before they retire. That would be a bummer. So let's jump into the chat and see what you guys want to talk about. This whole sports betting thing is becoming a problem for NASCAR. When a favorite is in the lead and doesn't win the race, the house makes a ton of money. Says FIA. Yeah, I mean, sports betting is not for the faint of heart. you're gonna be heartbroken, and then you're gonna win some. So it's just do it responsibly, and that's all I can really say about that one as far as terms of service go, as far as YouTube. So anyway, Mets are down 2-0 to the Braves, says in between the lanes, FIA saying go Braves, losing Geico. And now, okay, here we go. Losing Geico and now hearing that FedEx is lowering its presence isn't looking good for NASCAR, says Chrome Diesel. So yeah, sponsorship deals. Some companies are doing great. A lot of companies are not doing great, so sponsorship deals are going to get tighter and tighter. I think that was a big reason that they had to get this TV money deal. 23XI, I guess, is still holding out, and so is Front Row. But the rest of these teams, that was a big reason they had to get their TV money deal ironed out. What's up, Russell Dominguez? Good to see you on here, and cheers to you as well. What's up, B? What's up, Chrome Diesel? What's up, Shah? There's other companies who will replace FedEx and Geico, but it'll be weird seeing changes. Yeah, it's going to be super. It's already weird enough seeing Mavis be on Denny Hamlin's driver's suit. Which shout out to Mavis. I mean, good for them for sponsoring, but it's just so strange to see Denny Hamlin in something other than FedEx. Just like it's strange to see Kyle Busch in anything other than a Toyota and an M&M's deal. The whole Ty Dillon thing is pretty much the same thing as what happened to Matt DiBenedetto last season, says in between the lanes. Yeah, but I don't think Ty Dillon is upset about it because I think Ty Dillon has something lined up. The other thing is, I forgot to mention that in the earlier opening, Riley Herbst said he's still not sure about what he's going to do next season. And then Bob Pockris turned around and said he still expects him to be the head candidate to be over there at 23XI, which lets you know that 23XI might be waffling a little bit on that charter. And maybe that's why Riley Herbst is not clear about what his future is. That was, I think, Bob Pockris' speculation. I'm paraphrasing. I'm not going word for word as to what Bob Pockris tweeted. But I did see that as I flew in here. It's been a busy day. I covered 200 miles working here today. So, which is nothing to truckers, but it's a lot for me. Let's see. Dawson Sutton is Ty's replacement. So Dawson Sutton is his name. So that is the name. I knew it was Sutton. I couldn't remember his first name. Evening, everyone. Does NASCAR now have the ability to manipulate races simply with different tire compounds? Exciting racing at some tracks, and some tracks it's not, says Brickyard Brickhead. So, yeah, a lot of people speculating that it was a different tire. I don't think it was a different tire. And here's my rationale. And I can understand, and nobody knows for sure except for Goodyear, right? Here's my rationale as to why I don't think it was a different tire. I think the teams just adjusted to it. If you remember when the tire situation, the first race at Bristol was going on, the teams kept saying if we had had a practice, if we had known that this was the tire, we could have adjusted to it and we would have gotten a lot more laps out of this tire. Well, they knew that was the tire coming into this one. So what do you think they did? I think the teams adjusted for this tire. And that's why this tire, like the teams are smart. They know how much load to put into those tires and how far they need to go on them. So that's what they're going to do. So if they know this is the tire coming in, that's why I don't think unless you make the tire just really soft to where they just can't account for it, period, you're going to have this situation where the teams make the setup to not abuse the tires if they know the tires are going to be softer. The teams will get the maximum amount out of the tires every single time. So I think the teams just adjusted for it. But I understand the other argument if you think Goodyear brought a different tire. Like I'm not going to sit here and argue with you because I don't have any facts to prove it one way or the other. Like I don't work at the Goodyear factory. I can't give you the tire codes that were on the sides of the tire and all that good stuff. But I do remember last race, even Junior said it on his podcast. Last race at Bristol, they did say, if the teams had known this was the tire was going to be this soft, if they had had a practice, they would have been able to change the setups and make the tires last longer. So I'm going with the teams just adjusted to the tire, and that's why they were able to run them as long as they could. George saying hello from Prescott, Arizona. What's up, George? What's up, Arizona? People change at sponsors and decide that their money is better spent doing something else with it. Indeed, indeed. So, if you don't see a return, NASCAR is a significant investment for these major companies. So, especially when you're chunking out 25 million for a full season, you better see a return on it. That's all I got to say about it. Because if you don't see a return on it, they'll very easily put that money somewhere else. People need to blame it on Denny's attitude, like they did KFB. This whole economy stinks. Without the insane TV deal, NASCAR is going to go by the wayside. Says Streamlabs. Yeah, so the TV deal is definitely something that had to get hammered out, and I think that's why it took so long for the teams to make sure they got maximum money on it. In my business, we do a ton of shipping with FedEx every day. I can tell you economically they are hurting, like all of us in logistics. Says Beast. Yeah, yeah, and they've been doing this turnaround for a long time, so they've got their numbers where they want to get them. But to get their numbers where they want to get them, they had to cut a lot of people. They're running lean, I would imagine. I'm just taking a guess here, and a lot of luxury things that they used to be able to do, I think they've cut back significantly. Like they said, they're cutting back 1.5 billion by 2025. Were folks with this disturbed when UPS left? I always liked Team Brown. A lot of people were sad when not only UPS, a lot of people were sad when UPS left, but I remember when Home Depot left and it was just Lowe's slash Cobalt for Jimmy Johnson. I remember a lot of people being bummed out that they left. So those were two definitely that a lot of people I hated to see go. If you want to go really far back in the day when STP stopped being on the side of the 43 car, I remember a lot of people were like, man, that's like the end of an era, I remember when Goodwrench came off of the side at the time it was the side of the 29, but it had been with RCR for a long time. That was a huge one. I remember when because Dale Jarrett was like the Ford man, not necessarily a sponsor, but I remember a driver. He went over to Toyota for when Toyota was kickstarting their deal. So the 44 Toyota UPS car, I remember that was a big deal when he switched over manufacturers. So yeah, a lot of people just don't like it when things like that get changed up. I wouldn't want to work with Gibbs lineup right now. Briscoe, Bell, yes, but not the other two, says Diane H. So she likes half. She does like half of Joe Gibbs Racing, but the other half, not her favorite people right now. So we all have our favorites. We all have the people we pull for and against. That's part of the fun of the sport, no doubt about it. Sponsors you recognize with certain drivers that left: Lowe's, M&M's, Home Depot, Kellogg's. Indeed. We all remember Kellogg's to me, Kellogg's, a lot of people place it with Carl Edwards. I still place it with Terry Labonte. When I think of Kellogg's, I always think about Terry Labonte. Home Depot, a lot of people associate that with Tony Stewart, but a lot of people also associate it with Joey Logano as well. So it just depends on when you were born, what area you grew up in, and then of course Lowe's. That was always STP was always Richard Petty. Lowe's was always Jimmy Johnson, M&M's. Not always Kyle Busch, but will always be synonymous with Kyle Busch. Of course, Ken Schrader, Ernie Irvin, and a few others drove that. Back when it was the 36 car. Elliott Sadler when it was the 38 car. Elliott Sadler, I think Elliott Sadler got one or two wins with M&M's on the side of the car. I know he got at least one win. I can't remember if his other win was with Pedigree or with M&M's, but I know Elliott Sadler, I think, was the only other driver to win with the M&M scheme other than Kyle Busch. Anyway, sponsors leaving. I might be wrong about that, but that's in my mind. I think that's right. Sponsors leaving is a sign of a bad economy, not a bad sport, says Shaw. I agree with that 100%. I think the sport overall is on an upswing as far as entertainment and stuff like that. The racing for the most part this year has been pretty good. A lot of people didn't like the Bristol race. I like the Bristol race. I thought it was pretty good, but a lot of people didn't like it. Ron Russell saying Hooters pulled. Yeah, Hooters pulled out because they didn't have money to pay the bills, but they were never a major sponsor anyway. They were only there for 3 or 4 races. So it wasn't like they were, the only sponsor for Chase Elliott. I think they'll always be associated with Alan Kulwicki. Anytime I think of them, I think of Alan Kulwicki, and other people have driven for him as well, including Loy Allen Jr. And now, of course, Chase Elliott most recently. FedEx will sponsor golf over NASCAR. I've been to the FedEx Cup for PGA Tour for many years, by the way, says Napa Race fan. Part of that is corporate culture. So I don't know. Corporate culture seems to favor golf over racing. And what you do for these golf events, you take people to a golf event and you can golf yourself there before the event starts if you're a big sponsor like FedEx. The other thing is, and a lot of corporate people, I would say 90 something percent of corporate people do golf and do their business deals on the golf course. The other thing is, you go to a golf match, you can talk business. You go to a cup race, you can talk business, but not everybody is a cup racing fan in the corporate world or a race car fan in the corporate world. Whereas most of them, even if they don't like golf, there's a ton of people in that corporate ladder that have learned to play golf just so they can do business deals. So golf is sort of a more, as far as that world goes, in my opinion, golf is more of a something that they would spend money on over racing, I guess is the best way to say it. So I think that's why you see that happening. I don't think it's because one sport's better or worse than the other. It just has to do with corporate culture. Spire might be a mini Hendrick, says OJ and Toothpaste. Yeah, I saw that one. That was from Door Bumper Clear. And we talked about that on the last live stream, if I'm not mistaken. It's sort of, if you take it in F1 terms, you've got Red Bull and then you've got AlphaTauri. And you could see basically the same thing with Spire over there. You got Hendrick, and then you would have Spire be the AlphaTauri to Hendrick there. The other way you could look at this is, if that's not what's happening, the other way you can look at it is, if Andretti comes in, this is the same blueprint that SHR and Joe Gibbs Racing used to build their organizations. If you remember when SHR, I'll just say that one because it's the most recent. When SHR started, they had a strong connection with Hendrick. Hendrick basically showed them how to get going as a race team. When it became, Tony Stewart and Gene Haas, and also Joe Gibbs Racing, they had a ton of help from Hendrick when they first got started, getting lifted up off the ground. Hendrick played a big role in them, and then they finally sort of turned the corner and became a super. They just took it. They were good as a Chevrolet team. Don't get me wrong. I would say Joe Gibbs Racing, when they were Chevrolet team, they were probably about as good as. A little bit better because they got some championships with Pontiac and stuff like that. But they really turned the corner when they became the A team for Toyota. And I see Trackhouse being in a similar situation. Trackhouse is right there where Joe Gibbs Racing used to be. If they got lucky and a manufacturer came into the sports, let's say like a Honda or a Dodge or somebody like that, and they became that number one team for Honda or Dodge, you could really see Trackhouse turn the corner there if something like that happened. So, but yeah, all these other those two teams, not all these other teams, but those two teams in particular took that route. So that's the other thing that could be going on there. So Freddie Kraft said it. Freddie Kraft has, more access to behind the scenes than I've got. So if he says Mini Hendrick, we'll go with, I think it was Freddie Kraft that said, I know it was on Door Bumper Clear. So Mini Hendrick, we'll go with Mini Hendrick. Right up there with the Mini Bulls. If you remember the 90s SNL skit, Chicago super fans, probably the greatest of all time. Everybody, no matter who your favorite football team is, your favorite fans are the Bears super fans from that SNL skit back in the day. Interstate should be strong. Car battery is $200 now, says Streamlabs. Yeah, good luck getting a car battery that's under two. If you drive a truck or something big, good luck getting a battery under $200 right now. Any of them, like Interstate or anybody else. USA only got 900K more viewers for Cup than the CW did for Xfinity. That's crazy. That's crazy. So CW did a great job getting the word out, and hopefully they continue doing that. So that'll be hopefully a positive thing. Hopefully everybody figures out a way to watch the CW. NASCAR needs to fix their marketing so that sponsors, particularly the large ones, don't have to keep leaving. The sport is based on the cars driving around as billboards, and they're struggling. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know the answer to. I don't disagree with you, but I don't know a great answer to make it a better bargain for the sponsors involved. Everything fell apart when they moved the number to the sides of the cars, says Streamlabs. Yeah, so I've got a video. I was trying to make a video today, but I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't get it done. I wish I had. I know I'm not going to make any excuses. I had a day, but I'm not going to use that as an excuse. I still should have got it done. But I have a video coming up that has to deal with that topic, so we're going to touch on that. And if you see my T-shirt, you might know what I'm talking about. But don't spoil it. We'll save that video for tomorrow. Washington's owner also owns a stake in Joe Gibbs Racing now. Very odd time, says Napa Racing fan. The biggest issue with the lack of sponsors in big ones as of late is that NASCAR does nothing to promote the drivers. In the past, Jeff Gordon, Dale Sr., etc., household names, says E. Damon. I agree. That's part of it. So back when Jeff Gordon, Richard Petty raised it to a level. Dale Earnhardt raised it to another level, and Jeff Gordon took it fully corporate. So since Jeff Gordon took it fully corporate, there hasn't been a guy that filled in that vacuum. Jimmy Johnson was a great champion, a heck of a race car driver. That 48 team, one of the craziest things you'll ever see in sports, how good they were for that long period of time. That being said, as good as he was on the racetrack, Jimmy Johnson was not that dude off the racetrack to bring fans in. So who you had fill that gap in that era was Dale Jr. Dale Jr. did fill that gap in that era, but Dale Jr. wasn't the guy winning 7 championships, whereas every previous driver before that, you had Richard Petty. He was the biggest driver, and he was winning the most championships at the time. You had Dale Earnhardt Sr. He was the biggest driver. He was winning 7 championships at the time. You had Jeff Gordon. He was winning the most races. He did get 4 or so championships. He had the big personality to go with it. And then Kyle Busch, he played sort of the antithesis. So Jimmy Johnson's era, you had a few guys there that were the bigger personalities, but they weren't winning the championships like Jimmy Johnson was winning them. You had Kyle Busch, arguably one of a generational talent. He did get a championship during the Jimmy Johnson era, or maybe 2 champions. I can't remember if his last championship, Jimmy Johnson, I think he was still driving. So he got 2 in the Jimmy Johnson era. Tony Stewart got 1 or 2 in the Jimmy Johnson era. So you had some guys there with personality that were winning championships, but you just didn't have the most dominant guy, didn't have that big personality, a la the Dale Earnhardt Sr., Rusty Wallace days, the Jeff Gordon days. So it just didn't translate the same way. Let's see. If Dale, I will say this though, the sport would have gotten even bigger if Dale Earnhardt Jr. had been the guy winning those 7 championships. So it's just the way the ball bounces sometimes. The NBA was never bigger than with Michael Jordan, and then he was replaced with LeBron James. But before Michael Jordan, you had Bird and Magic, and before Bird and Magic, the league was struggling because they had Dr. J, but there was a sort of a gap between Dr. J and before Bird and Magic took it to another level. I wasn't around back then, but that's what I'm told. So you have to have your best players be a big personality. So sort of in today's analogy, what NASCAR needs is a Caitlin Clark. And I don't know if they've got a Caitlin Clark right now, but they need one. They need one. So we'll see. We'll see if somebody can step up and be that Jeff Gordon, be that Dale Earnhardt Sr., be that Richard Petty to take the sport back to where it needs to go. Tiger Woods effect, whoever you want to throw out there. Lance Armstrong to an extent. Whoever you want to put out there. Late to the party, but I made it. What's up, one wise guy? Sounds like Ty Dillon is going back to the Cup car in the 31. Yeah, that's what I think as well. Like dislike. I don't know if he'll be splitting it with Austin Hill, but I think it's going to be an Austin Hill Ty Dillon split. But either way, we know for sure Ty Dillon's going there, and I think he's driving for him this weekend. If I remember, he's driving one of these races coming up here. I know that Lulu the dog uh, is his biggest nemesis. So Lulu the dog becomes sponsored by FedEx instead of Denny Hamlin. Maybe Walmart can sponsor. Poll question, of course. What does FedEx do next season? Maybe Walmart can sponsor a Cup car for the majority of races. They've already had a sign on track. Why not? It's a car 30 times a year, says Napa Racing Fan. FedEx sponsors Lulu. Ghetto Streamlabs laughing at that one. Logano will be the only driver under the same sponsor for his car, Pennzoil. The sponsor's never going away until he retires, says E. Damon. That's hopefully one that stays forever. Like, I hadn't thought about that one because in my mind, I still associate Pennzoil with Kevin Harvick just because I don't know. I grew up an RCR man, but yeah, you're right. Logano and Pennzoil have been together for a very, very long time. So good call on that one. Good call on that one. Joe Logano's got that personality. He wouldn't be the personality. He would be more like a Jeff Gordon personality where he got booed probably a lot more than he got cheered, at least in the Earnhardt era. So he could be that personality if he can ring off a couple more championships here. Uh, Pennzoil is a Penske thing, says Streamlabs. Dale Jr. called Bristol a short track travesty. I'm surprised Amazon. I'm not going to go that far with it. I'm surprised Amazon hasn't sponsored a car yet, says Like Dislike. Amazon Web Services was on the side of somebody's car one time, but I don't think it was ever the full sponsor. They've been sort of a contingency sponsor, or maybe had a quarter panel or a rear. But yeah, you're right. I don't think they've ever sponsored a full car, but I might be wrong about that. I need to go check that one. I've seen them on a car before, though. But yeah, they're just a title sponsor of the sport, sort of like Coca-Cola is with NASCAR. Thoughts on Aspire becomes a key Chevy partner? Oh, they're 100%, in my opinion, 100% going to becoming a key Toyota partner, or a key Chevrolet partner. Sorry about that. Talking about FedEx, I had Toyota on the mind. I know Hendrick is helping them, but if I'm RCR at Trackhouse, I'm opposed to this. In my opinion, it dilutes the advantage it gives the team. Yeah, there is such thing as having too many tier one teams. It sort of dilutes what everybody gets. There's no doubt about that. But there's no doubt about who the alpha number one Chevrolet team is. And right now, that's Hendrick. So as long as Chevrolet has Hendrick going, I don't think they really care about who else is a tier one team or not. Thoughts on the CW, says Napa Race Fan. I mean, it was just NBC with a CW badge. I think they did a good job. I think they did a better job than NBC about getting the word out about having a Xfinity Series race, and hopefully they keep that energy up. Denny Hamlin uses Mavis for his family vehicles. Indeed, I know you aren't doing it, BB, but political ads keep invading your live stream. It's part of the season, man. It won't even let me because I think I figured it out. I think because it's political season, it's not even giving me the option to block them anymore. So it is as soon as November's over with, we should be done with those ads. Sorry about that. I can't control it. I know you aren't doing it, but they keep invading. I just read that one. I'll give it to Mavis. They're giving Dollar General a run for its money when it comes to opening new stores. Oh, that's pretty crazy. I didn't know that. There's still not one sort of in my area just yet. Maybe Denny can, or Mavis at least. Maybe Denny can get. There's plenty of Dollar Generals. Maybe Denny can get a primary deal with Domino's with his PJs. Says Napa Racing Fan. That would be cool. I would like to see Domino's come back. That'd be a pretty good deal. I like that commercial. Napa Racing Fan. I did too. Says Napa. Little Sammy Bush called out the new car. Says Like Dislike. I did see a headline about that, but I haven't heard her actual comments. So I'll have to go check that one out. This was the first. I'm not going to say she's wrong though. I think this car has a big part to do with it. This is the first Bristol night race I've ever turned off because it was so painful and boring to watch. Welcome back, Ricky Senior. He's been reinstated, indeed. So Richard Senior has been reinstated. Gibbs got the CW. That team gets Amazon Prime. And it's so hard to find some NASCAR races on TV now. It sucks, says Big Will. Yeah, I miss the good old days when it was basically just on one channel, or at least on one channel for most of the year. And then you might see one. Thanks for wearing a tee with Mar Martin's sharpest paint scheme. Isn't it true that Dylan is getting the 31 because he comes as a package deal to go with free or discounted engines from RCR? Could be. I don't know. I didn't sign the contract. I'm not in there with him. Shout out to Andy Dalton and the Panthers win. Yeah, Andy Dalton broke a lot of hearts on DraftKings. I'll say that for sure. But good for him. He breathed some life into that Carolina Panthers team, and those Carolina Panther fans, they finally have something to be excited about. So whether or not you like the Panthers, I am happy that their fans at least have something to pull for, at least for 1 week. Aloha, Mr. NASCAR. What's up, Big Wheel? And aloha to you as well, my friend, on the big, small island or whichever island you're on. It's business. That's what you do to stay competitive, says Nathan. Indeed. Dang, forgot about Home Depot. STP was before my time, says Shy. Yeah, STP was gone by the 90s. I think, man, I think John Andretti, maybe early 2000s. They were still there for a few early 2000s races, but about the time John Andretti was there, I think that was the end of them. Dang, forgot about Home Depot. STP was before my time. Unfortunately, I guess I'm just not a big fan of Bristol. I'm sure I would like it if I attended a race. But says a lot when my favorite race there by far was when a tire was shredding every 40 laps. Yeah, they need to repave it, make it asphalt, and get rid of the progressive banking. That's basically what ruined when they went to progressive banking and concrete. That's when it sort of ruined Bristol. Ask yourself, why does F1 have so many sponsors? They turn them away, and NASCAR is out shaking its tin cup begging. When the joke of the sport is over, it's over advertising in the past, says E. Damon. F1 is global. They do have a ton of U.S. sponsorship, though. It's I mean, they hit a home run with that documentary, and that just really helped them out. So they're just really savvy media wise, and NASCAR does need, and NASCAR has taken a page, but NASCAR needs to focus on what they're doing much more closely. My favorite M&M scheme was Kyle Busch Halloween 2010, orange and black. What about you? I like and I saw him win in this car at Charlotte. I always like the 4th of July one, the all white car with the red and blue M&Ms, red, white, and blue M&Ms. I like that car quite a bit. Um, he's had some good Halloween schemes. Elliott Sadler had some really good Halloween schemes too. So I don't know. M&M's has always had good ones. That red, white, and blue one though was really cool because I actually saw him win in it. I miss Schrader's Red Baron pizza car. I'm glad you said that, Streamlabs. I actually have a Ken Schrader Red Baron T-shirt. So maybe if I remember, which is a big if, I will wear that one next stream. People were asking for more retro shirts, so I will start wearing, I guess, more retro shirts. I miss Schrader's Red Baron pizza car. Great livery and great pizza. Red Baron is good pizza. It's no Tombstone, but it's all right. It's all right. Let's see. Napa, I liked, but loved the Bristol race. Could be way better, but wasn't terrible and boring like many others said it was. Yeah, I don't think it was as bad either. I think the only problem with Bristol is Kyle Larson had such a huge lead. If you were actually had been watching the race for second and Kyle Larson hadn't been in the race, that race for second was actually really, really intense at various moments throughout the race, and that would have been the race for the lead. I think that would have totally changed everybody's mind, but unfortunately for the rest of the field, Kyle Larson and the five gang hit the setup perfectly, and they just had a way faster car. I wasn't upset about it, obviously, but I understand if you're not a Kyle Larson fan and your driver was stuck 5 or 6 seconds behind him, it was not fun to watch. What do you think will be the biggest upset this round? I'm telling you, man, if that 45 car doesn't start running better in the playoffs, there is a chance he pulls a Martin Truex Jr. and goes out early and doesn't get a sniff of the Final Four, which would be sad because Tyler Reddick has had a great season. To see him exit early, that would be my pick. They have got to get that 45 car turned around and going. And this weekend is a great opportunity. 2311 is great at Kansas. Toyota's great at Kansas. This would be a big weekend if I'm the 45. I would have that circled on my calendar. This is a race that he needs to do very well at, if not completely win, because they have had a dud of a opening playoffs after winning the regular season title. So I would say the 45 car. They've got a generational talent in there, and they need to give him some race cars that go faster. Early Kansas prediction: Martin Truex Jr. dominates. Kyle Busch gets back on track. Says in between the lanes. Yeah, it was definitely a bad race for Kyle Busch after he had strung together all those really good runs. So hopefully he gets back on track. Martin Truex Jr. could dominate it. It is a Toyota track. Denny Hamlin has the best average finish. Kyle Larson at 5.3 a second. Kurt Busch, who, of course, 2311, 6.7. Chase Elliott, 9.0. And Alex Bowman, 9.8. Then you got Martin Truex Jr. here in sixth with a 10.3. So there you go. Your top six there. And Martin Truex is definitely one of them since February of 2021, at least. And then you go to your previous winners, and you've got Denny Hamlin, Kurt Busch, which would be 2311, another 2311 guy, Bubba Wallace. Then you've got Kyle Busch has one, Tyler Reddick, another 2311 driver there that has one, two for Kyle Larson as well. So there you go. 2311 and Kyle Larson are strong here as far as and Toyota itself, as far as the drivers you need to be looking at for Kansas. A little quick preview of Kansas there. 2311 is basically a mini JGR. Yeah, fair point right there. So I think that's the direction, since these especially since they're going to cap these things allegedly to 3. I think that's the direction you're going to see these things go. You're just going to have tier 1 and tier 2 Joe Gibbs Racing, like you got there, tier 1 and tier 2 Hendrick Motorsports, and however else it plays out. Penske's already got their tier 2 team in the Wood Brothers. What if you see the Wood Brothers expand to another car? That would be something there. Would it be possible for Red Bull to pull Connor Z over to F1? Anything's possible. It just depends on his super license and what he would have to do to go get that done. Do you think the CW got the word out, or was it the fans? I think a little bit of both. Bob Whitebread says Rackley War Racing is trying to die. So yeah, they're not making the greatest decisions over there. They're getting rid of. No matter how you feel about Ty Dillon, he has won truck races, so he is at least proficient in the truck series. Matt DiBenedetto, he's won truck race. He won a truck race with him, if I'm not mistaken. So he is at least proficient over there in trucks. He gave that truck a good run. Timothy Peters, he won several truck races. So they keep getting rid of drivers that are proficient, and at least 2 of the 3 have not been amicable. So interesting. Freddie is the one who said Mini Hendrick says one wise guy. So it was Freddie Kraft for sure. Would it be possible? I just read that one. Trackhouse is kind of out in the cold with the Chevy camp. Hendrick and Spire are joining up. Colleague and RCR are becoming one. Welcome. I think you're right about the RCR colleague deal as well. I think they just have yet to announce it yet. I think that's part of the big news that Austin Dillon was hinting at. Do you think Ty Norris move may connect Trackhouse to one welcome? Says Dirty Def. Nope. I don't think so. I don't think that's going to happen at all. I think very publicly that they're going to act like they're still best friends. But I'm going to say the fact that he was told to just go ahead and get gone in the middle of the playoffs tells me everything I need to know about that situation over there. I don't think it was amicable. I don't think it was friendly. That's just my opinion. I can't prove it. But I don't think they're going to be friends. I don't think they're going to be friendly for a while. I don't think Trackhouse and Welcome are going to be, or at least Trackhouse and Colleague are going to be. I don't think they're going to be friendly for a while. I could be wrong though. I could be reading way too much into the situation, but that's just my opinion. Hey y'all, better late than never. What's up, say Kyle? Petty made them known. Earnhardt made them rich. Gordon put them in private jets. Hey, there you go, say Kyle. That's a great way of putting it. That is a great way of putting it. And Jimmy Johnson put him to sleep by winning too much. So I'll finish it off for you. And Jimmy Johnson was great. That's not his fault. But he was not the same personality as those previous 3 guys. Dale Earnhardt Jr. was the best of his time off the track, says Dirty Def. Still is. His podcast is in a lot of ways. Everybody, what all NASCAR fans do now, we watch the races, and then half the conversation we have is, oh, what was Dale Jr. or Dirty Mo Media, door bumper clear, or what is it, the teardown with Jordan Bianchi? Half the conversation, or actions detrimental with Denny Hamlin. Half the conversations after the race are from Dirty Mo Media. So he is proven off the track. Him and his sister Kelly, they've really gotten things going on over there. Jimmy Johnson is just dull. Even when he was winning, he made NASCAR dull, says Shaw. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Just not the personality, and nothing wrong with that. I agree with you. And Shaw saying right here, nice guy, just boring. Yeah, that's sort of where I'm at with Jimmy Johnson. Do I think Jimmy Johnson is boring behind the scenes? Absolutely not. But his public persona, just kind of flat and boring. I hate the Bird versus Dr. I had the Bird versus Dr. J Atari game, says Streamlabs. I just saw a clip on I think it was Instagram where him and Dr. J were fighting, and the entire Sixers team was holding Larry Bird while Dr. J punched him. So, and then they asked Bird why they got in a fight, and he said because I had 38 and he had 6 points. So Larry Bird, a supreme trash talker, he elevated. Him and Magic Johnson helped elevate it after Dr. J had his run. 3 different concussions, says Napa Racing fan. Dale Jr. should have had a close. Dale Jr. should have closely contended for at least one championship, but many stupid things stopped that from happening. Swearing on TV, Harvick causing a big wreck at Talladega, running out of fuel, etc. Says Napa race fan. Yep, and even Jr. himself said he wasn't as focused. He said it recently. He said he wasn't as focused in that era as he probably should have been. The number one car, Steve Park says James Burns. I don't see drivers in three different concussions, says Never Race fan. The number one car, Steve Park, says James Byrne. I don't see drivers in sponsor ads today very often anymore. Oh, I'm talking about Pennzoil. I appreciate there, James Burns. We did leave out one Pennzoil driver. The other one, the number 30 for Michael Waltrip, was another Pennzoil car that we left out. I don't see drivers in sponsor ads very often anymore. It's like sponsors, I don't value them in the actual commercials, maybe because nobody knows who they are, says Joshua Thaxton. That's a great point. That's a great point. We don't have any more Napa know-how commercials. Michael Waltrip getting lost, going to the wrong track or whatever. So you don't see those as often. The last one I could remember is Brad Keselowski with the half off deal for what is something cellular. Anyway, but he's got the half off car, the orange half off cellular car. That's the last real commercial that pops in my head that's got a driver in it that was good that I just instantly remember. Consumer Cellular. That's the name of it. Matt, we don't have that around here, so it's hard for me to remember that one. Matt Kenseth in 2000 says Brett Dodd. And to the point, I would never have heard of Consumer Cellular if it wasn't for Brad Keselowski and NASCAR. So there you go. I thought Ross had potential to become huge, but it was almost like after Darlington last year, a lot changed on the track, and it's almost like they wanted the noise around Ross to calm down. Yeah, I think a good part of that was sort of planned. I think here's the deal. Ross Chastain was pretty high. I want to say he was top 6 or 7 in points, but just you had so many different winners. He was pushed out because he was a non-winner. But him and Chris Buescher being pushed out of the playoffs is crazy because I want to say they were top 10 in points and they got pushed out. That's just the way this point system works. But they didn't have a bad season. They just couldn't get that all important win in this particular format. It's a good race only because the 5-1, says James Burns. So he only liked it because of who won. Here is the fix for NASCAR sponsors. Woes. Release Talladega Nights 2, says E. Damon Racing. Get everybody re-excited about NASCAR on a national basis. I don't know in this particular atmosphere if Talladega Nights 2 would fly, to be totally honest with you. I don't know. Hard to say. Ty Dillon failing upwards. Zane Smith could get better results for Colleague. Is there a better place for him in Cup? Or is it back to trucks for him? He's going to go to front row. The only person saying he's not going to front row is Kevin Harvick, and I don't necessarily, nothing against Kevin Harvick. I just don't know if I necessarily believe that. So is what it is. M&M's is a candy maker, and Halloween is their day, says Duke Chronic. Hey, that's a good point right there. When they made Bristol a 2-lane track, it hurt it really bad. That's what Junior said a few years ago, and I think, I agree 100%. What up, BB and everyone? What's up, Elite? Good to see you on here, my man. 45 has won this race with 3 different drivers going for 4. There you go. You can't. It's hard to count 23-11 out of this one for sure. NBC hasn't said anything about Bubba charging the 3rd place finish or Priest finishing 7th. TV director focuses more on the playoff drivers. Yeah, and you didn't hear a word about Chase Elliott driving up to 2nd either. It was. I do agree with that. That was a little bit of a whiff. All they did was focus on Denny Hamlin and who could get in Ty Gibbs race. Freaking Ty Gibbs racing Daniel Suarez, and they weren't even really racing each other, but they kept showing that battle on the track. That was really annoying because they didn't show anybody moving up through the field. I agree with that. Chrome saying, what up to Elite? Here's the Discord link if you want to join the Discord link and the merch link as well. So check out that. We still got the hat. Buy a hat, get a free t-shirt. Just put them both in the basket. Weather for the weekend, says Aaron Flynn. I don't know about Kansas, but I know the Martinsville late model race is probably going to be a wet weekend for them. And good news for me, as far as that goes, I'm not going. So I will not be at the Martinsville race for all of you who are like, how come you're so hard on NASCAR whenever they have a thing with the teams? Because I have to deal with NASCAR BS either. And NASCAR pulled some BS. And so I will not be going to help anybody at the big Martinsville late model race. Craig Moore will be down there with Riley Neal, though. So be pulling for Riley Neal and, everybody else. Landon Pimbleton will be racing for Lee Pulliams. So be pulling for Landon Pimbleton. Peyton Sellers, all the gang there. Let's see. You can leave a voicemail on Breakard's phone. Says in between the lanes. Breakard's channel is great. I agree. Breakard does a great job. Tons of energy. Good dude. Seems like. Matt DeBenedetto won Talladega in 2022. CW needs to work on their app. I cannot stream Xfinity race until the next day. Says they're deaf. Yeah, hopefully they get that figured out. That was a big problem for a lot of people. So hopefully they do get that knocked out and sort of sorted out. For some reason, my CW is not full screen and seems to be in very low res definition. Was frustrating. Guess I got spoiled with the great picture quality from Fox and NBC. I agree, Napa Racing fan says in between the lanes. Thoughts on Corey Deal not having a seat at the end of the season? Yeah, Corey Heim will get picked up, no doubt about it. Let's see. Real question of the day: which is better, peanut butter M and M's or Reese's Pieces? Says like dislike. Let's see. I like uh, I like Reese's Pieces better. As far as M and M's go, I like the peanut M and M's. Reese's is not even close, says Streamlabs. So Justin Marks went on Sirius XM yesterday and said he's still good friends with Ty, and they have talked every day for the last week. I agree with you, BB. He was convincing, but he was convincing, says Dirty Deaf. I mean, they might be. They might be. I just don't think so. Oh, I agree. Dale Jr. is still the biggest name and influence in the sport. Let's see. Kelly Earnhardt is fascinating to listen to. She is very sharp. Business person, says Streamlabs. Yeah, for sure. She's definitely got that thing flying pretty good. Let's see. Does Ty Gibbs have a single fan? He's got a bunch of fans, to be honest with you. There you go. OG and Toothpaste says, I'm a fan. Larry Bird and Magic Johnson was the biggest era in basketball. Different game back then. Me Too says in between the lanes. Dirty Deaf 100%. Champa Bay Beast saying why. I guess referring to the Ty Gibbs thing. Let's see. Streamlabs saying, yep, Michael Waltrip was driving the Pennzoil car when he punched Lake Speed. I will never forget that. So yeah, that was definitely there for sure. Consumer Cellular saying in between the lanes. Let's see, Suarez does the Spanish commercials for freeway insurance. Hey, there you go. So I didn't know that one, but there you go. That's a good thing. Cali thing, I guess. I need Larson to start doing Prime commercials since he has a deal with them. Says Elite Precision. That would be pretty cool. That would be pretty cool. Although I don't like Prime, so I don't know. I'm good. I'm good. He does have his own flavor of Prime, or at least his own like bottle or whatever. Ross has the fourth highest average finish overall this season and scored the second most points in the first round despite not being in the playoffs. That's crazy bad luck, man. I saw where he would be like fifth in Winston Cup points. Yeah, super bad luck for him. Here in rain for Kansas. So yeah, Kansas might be getting some of that rain coming in. We're getting rain from the hurricane system or whatever it's going to be. Even though KFB would have sucked anyway this year, I do miss the Winston Cup point system, says Streamlabs. A lot of people do. I don't necessarily want that system, but I would like season long points. And I think you could still have a playoff with season long points as well. I've mentioned the Triple Crown multiple times. Let's see. The Bristol race was fine with me, says David Garland. Kelly's kid Carson is off door bumper clear. She was really good. Says Duke Chronic. Yeah, she's definitely been more active. Kansas will be delayed to be a night race, says Chrome Diesel. Legacy would be better off dumping Nemechek, and I'm with you. I'm with you on that. And I only say that because Nemechek has the highest rate of wrecking cars this season and incidents. At least Corey wouldn't be a caution clock, unlike the current drivers as Matt Hunter. Yeah, I'm with you. I think John Hunter Nemechek has a lot of talent, but he keeps putting it in the wall, and there's no way that can be a good situation going forward. There we go. Let's see. Suarez really gained my respect when he talked about the process of getting a citizenship here. I thought that was really cool, says Streamlabs. Yeah, that was a really cool deal for sure. And hopefully that gets promoted the way it should get promoted. Matty D showed his talents in that Rackley Ware truck. He ran a lot better than Dylan did this year. Do you know if he'll be back with a Viking Motorsports car again next year? I would hope for sure that he would he would be back. Um, I don't know. I just don't know their financial situation over there. I know AM Racing has got Harrison Burton, but hopefully Matty D goes back over there. I don't know, or at least lands because he's got the talent. You know, he's just got to find the sponsorship. He's a guy that's got talent. He's sort of in that. Well, Parker Kligerman's moving too, so somebody's going to have to fill that seat for Parker Kligerman. They probably already got it filled. I'm just not thinking of who's going there. Let's see. John Hunter Nemechek has gotten the biggest pass when it comes to how many incidents he's involved in and never gets talked about. I agree 100% with you there, Dirty Def. Nobody really talks about that. It's just super interesting who we pick to like if somebody wrecks a lot, like Ricky Stenhouse Jr. Like if he wrecks a lot, people talk about it all the time, right? So I don't know. He gets talked about, but then John Hunter Nemechek does it, and nobody, maybe a few people on Twitter here and there might do it, but then nobody really picks up on it as a big story because I guess they act like he's a rookie, but he's not a rookie. He's already run for Rookie of the Year, and he may or may not have won it that year. I can't remember who won it that year, but he's already had a rookie season. He's not a rookie. He should at this point at least be considered a veteran, not a seasoned veteran, but a veteran. So you would expect him to at least be finishing races because his problem his rookie year was the same thing. He kept wrecking race cars. So it's just and even if you look throughout the Xfinity series and things like that, it's one of those deals. If he wrecks a lot, Brother Stenhouse is going to wreck a lot, says Streamlabs. There always has to be that one guy says like this, like that's all right. We handled it, no problem. Kyle Larson is great, the best, but he does cause a lot of damage to other cars. If you look at it as a whole, says Dirty Def. Yeah, I mean Kyle Larson, he's aggressive, but he has better car control, so he doesn't necessarily wreck, but when he loses it, he does cause sometimes other people situations. And then there's interesting situations where we've seen him where he basically at the Coliseum he doored Justin Haley and ruined Justin Haley's day for something that we've seen Denny Hamlin do to him, but he cuts Denny Hamlin some slack because they're golfing buddies, so he won't touch him back. So he's really selective, and it's really interesting as to who he roughs up and who he doesn't rough up. Chase Elliott fans will remember he stole the win from Chase Elliott when Chase Elliott, for some unconceivable reason, picked the outside on a restart at their road course. So yeah, like he'll rough them up, but then he won't touch Denny Hamlin. He's an interesting case when it comes to stuff like that. But unworldly talent. I think he's the best one out there right now for sure. Let's see. Jimmy Dick saying, yeah, Ty Dillon sucks. I'm sorry he can't drive. I'm not going to say he can't drive, but he's been proficient in the truck series. He has at least gotten the job done. He's won races there, but it is what it is. He's being. I don't think anybody's going to be upset about it. He's being replaced with the team owners. I don't know if it's his son or his nephew or whatever, but he's being replaced with the head honcho guys. Relative. So it is what it is. All the people complaining about Ty Dillon, he's been Ty Dillon, I guess, if you want to look at it that way. My thoughts on the matter is if you get a chance to drive a race car and don't worry about what everybody else says. That's just my thoughts on it. I wish my granddad owned a race team because I would listen to all the hate and be like, I understand where you're coming from, but also I'm driving this car this weekend, so hate away. Crystal saying 83 is a crap driver, so she doesn't like Austin Dillon. Daniel Dye to the 48, says David A. McSwain. That would be interesting. That would be an interesting move right there. Yeah, that would be pretty cool. And that might be who's going in there. I just can't remember. Like, it's hard to keep up with the Xfinity and truck series. That's why I mainly focus on Cup because I'm usually working those weekends. Taking nothing away, like I said, I think he's the best, but some of his spins leaves Carnage behind. Oh yeah, no doubt about it. No doubt about it. Look, I pulled for Earnhardt, and he made some people spin out on purpose. I still think he was the greatest ever. So you got to take the good with the bad when you pull for whoever you pull for. Jeffrey Earnhardt was dating Lizzie Mussey, I think, says Ghetto Streamlabs. He was, and that's unfortunate. That was a big loss for him. He's posted a few things about it, so he's definitely it would hit anybody hard. So obviously it hit him hard as well. What will it take for people to stop calling for Bowman to be removed from the 48? He's performed well enough. Ownership and his sponsorship fully support him, says Matt Hunter. There's it's always going to be like that until it's always going to be whoever wants their driver in there, and it's just not going to get any better because everybody. It's one of the worst kept secrets in the world that Justin Haley is signed to a Hendrick contract. So allegedly, word on the street is or whatever. Dennis Gillespie, aloha, BB, my driver, Kyle Larson, beat Denny Hamlin and everybody else's driver, says Dennis. Aloha, Dennis. I hope you're having a good one over there on the big island or the small island or whichever island you're on. OJ, is that Earth 2 driver move? Says like dislike. Have you seen the video of Sheldon Creed and Dale Jr. drinking beers and talking about how Sheldon Creed finished second again? I haven't seen that, but I need to check that out. BB and I are replacing Bowman in the 48, says in between the lanes. There you go. There you go. After we do our extensive testing season in the 19 to get everything shaken down for Briscoe, that's where we're going. BB, the best and worst tacos you ever had, says OJ and Toothpaste. I mean, the worst tacos are Taco Bell, but they at least used to be cheap tacos. So cheap tacos are always good tacos. So that's probably taste wise the worst ones. The best food trucks. Food trucks always have the best tacos. Just the way it goes. Any early picks for this weekend? I'm going to go Kyle Larson or a Toyota. Like that's or we'll just make it more specific. 2311 or Kyle Larson. That's probably what I'm going to go with there. Without looking, at the statistics. I don't know if you know this, but HMS sucks. So like dislike. Still not a fan of HMS. I think Creed Dale Jr. video is Noah Lewis video. Noah Lewis does a great job. If you're not on his YouTube channel, you definitely need to check it out. I just wanted to add to the Bowman rumors, says in between the lanes. Always get Baja Blast from Taco Bell, says in between the lanes. Baja Blast, definitely really good. Dirty Deaf facts. That video was funny, says Crystal. Of course, Jamie, the grade 8. I won my NFL pick'em this week. Picked the Panthers too. Says, oh, that's a bold move picking the Panthers, but it paid off for you. I like it. I like it. Aggressive, bold, and you won. That's all that matters. Hamlin won't make the next cut, says Jamie Schweitzer. He might not. He looked like they found something at Bristol, but they can't have another slow start though. SVG on stacking pennies is worth checking out this week. Talks about buying a house and losing out to Busher. Bowman's great driver. Doing and done some good things for the money there. Probably using, says David McSwain. Yeah, I think Bowman's a good driver too. Alex Bowman's got all the wins. He makes the playoffs. The only thing that you can really point to with Alex Bowman is the playoff performance. He usually doesn't make it out of the first round or second round, and he's in Hendrick equipment, so more is expected of you. He has finished sixth one time before. But that's the big hang up that a lot of people point to with Alex Bowman. So a deep playoff run for Alex Bowman would be a good thing, I think, for him to sort of settle down some of those rumors. Like I Love It once said, never eat Mexican food east of the Mississippi or north of Texas. That's pretty funny, Beast. Anybody sees Daniels against Burrow last night? I did not. I did not see that last night. Who do you think are not making the 8? Oh, that's anybody's guess. No telling. No telling. SVG, my second favorite driver behind KFB, says Streamlabs. They never leave the fourth best driver alone. Yeah, that's just the way it goes. Everybody's favorite quarterback in the NFL is the backup quarterback when their quarterback's not doing good. Sort of the same thing with your fourth driver at big teams. Ally loves Alex, and that's why they use Dale in their commercials. Says like, dislike. Could be. Hey, BB, just came on live stream, first time in a while. How are you? Doing good, Jermaine. Hope you're doing good as well, my friend. Thoughts on Jaden Daniels? He seemed to have had a pretty good game last night. I haven't really, I'm not going to actively watch the Washington Commanders unless I have to. They're just not. It's just same thing with the Carolina Panthers. Well, I guess they got Andy Dalton now, but yeah, I'm not going to actively watch them because they just typically are not good. So it's not a team I really go searching out to see if they're playing good or not. So who wins, Alabama or Georgia? I'm going to go with Georgia, man. I think Georgia's got him. He is, but I don't know. I don't really watch the SEC. Is he compared to Kyle Larson? He is compared to Kyle Larson, says James Burns. Yeah, like that's the problem. That's the problem when you're at Hendrick. Your other teammate, two of your other teammates have already won championships. William Byron keeps stacking wins, but he's streaky. He's sort of streaky in the regular season. He'll go through these really hot runs, and then he'll have a cool period. Then he might get hot again, so you never know with him. And Alex Bowman, unfortunately, he's the same way, but he's had some injuries that he's had to overcome. So it is what it is. BB, the worst NFL team, says OJ and Toothpaste. Oh man, that's a tough one. Mm-mm-mm-mm-mm. Probably, I don't know. I don't know. There's a lot of options. I would still say the Carolina Panthers, even with Andy Dalton, because I think that's going to be a short-lived run over there. Washington Commanders, New York Giants. I would have to throw them in the mix. So Jacksonville Jaguars. I would have to throw all those teams in the mix. Colts need to get it together, says OJ and Toothpaste. Feeling better. Had a bit of the Rona, so you had some of the Rona there. I hate that. Man, that's tough. I'm glad you got over it though, so I'm glad you're feeling better. That's definitely nothing to play with. It's one of the worst things, man, because it saps all your energy. You can't really taste anything, and it's just a weird feeling. Like it's hard to describe what it is. It's its own thing. It's a bummer, unfortunately. So hey, I hate you had to go through that, but I'm glad you're back up and going now, and you're starting to feel better. Xfinity race on Friday was fun to watch. Stage 3 turned into disappointment with the top line being superior, and the bottom line was useless, says Chrome Diesel. Yeah, I mean they just got to figure something out. A big part of it's the car, in my opinion. As Freddie Kraft said on Door Bumper Clear, they're too easy to drive. So you got one man saying they're too easy to drive, and you got other people saying that they don't handle worth a darn. So depends on who you ask, as in all things with racing. How surprised would everybody be if Alex stayed in the 48 and HMS got rid of Larson? That would be as shocking as this weekend's NFL scores. BB, what's better, Subway or Jimmy John's? I like Jimmy John's of those options. Worst NFL team is the Chiefs without the refs, says Streamlabs. So he believes the Chiefs have 3 extra men on the field at all times. Big win for the Buffalo Bills last night. Indeed, for sure. How do you who has the best chance of making the round of 12 in your opinion? Briscoe, Suarez, or Cindric? I think Bowman continues his hot streak. Bowman continues his hot streak. Has a good record at the Roval. I don't know. I don't know. I don't know who's gonna make. I don't know who's gonna make the final 8. I don't know. It's hard to say. Cindric's been hot here, and some other guys have been cold. It just depends on if the cold streak continues. The one I'm looking at is the 45. Is the 45 going to rebound and get on top of things, or is he going to continue to struggle in the playoffs? He's the one that surprised me so far. You believe Talladega Nights hurt NASCAR, says James Burns. I think it reinforced some stereotypes. That's all I'll say about it. It wasn't for me, but I know the vast majority of people love that movie. It just wasn't for me. It had some good quotes in it, but it wasn't for me. I think it reinforced the stereotypes that everybody involved with NASCAR is an idiots. Some people watch it more like a documentary than a comedy, which is not Will Ferrell's fault. It's just the way people perceive things. Jersey Mike's has good sandwiches, says Image Twin Lanes. Indeed. I had Jersey Mike's today. So always a good sandwich from Jersey Mike's. Outside of the 19, BB, what teams are helping their respective programs? I guess the 48 at some point in between the lanes. The Baltimore Colts says like dislike. Got to watch the O2 Sharpie 500 and the St. Louis Cardinals and the Baltimore Colts probably have the worst record recently since they haven't played in forever. I got to watch the O2 Sharpie 500. It was interesting, or the fewest wins, we should at least say. Interesting Bristol night race. Sucks we can't have nice things or current Cup car with Bristol's top line being the preferred groove. Hicka Trolls on here tonight, says OJ and Toothpaste. It's all good. Some of us are adults, says Streamlabs. Yeah, I think the same about Talladega Nights, says James Burns. Yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with it. Let's see. Reddick can prove he's a contender if he shows up at Kansas. Good road racer. Depends on his outcome from Dega. If he continues on in the playoffs, yeah. I think he really needs to have a good run, without a doubt. Help out all programs we can, BB. No problem in between the lanes. Always out there trying to help out a team. If they need a practice squad, we are the practice squad. You've heard of the A team. We're the B team. We'll come in there and get the car shakedown and ready for the next weekend. Me and Lanes, preferably, get us some VIR and Watkins Glen starts, because VIR is close to my house. Watkins Glen, probably the closest one I'm imagining to your house. I'm just going off of who you pull for sports wise. I agree. OJ and Toothpaste, says Crystal. Let's see. BB team for BB and I are nice. Yeah, there you go. The triple B instead of B dubs or B twos, we're the triple B. Let's see. On Earth 2, KFB wins and Austin Dillon runs second at Kansas this weekend, says Streamlabs. I hope not. I hope not. Unfortunately, what it's looked like is like when one car for them has been good, aside from the streak they had right after the Olympics, when one car was good, the other car was like bad. Like they never seem to have both cars firing off at the same time for whatever reason. And that's just kind of odd. But you've seen that throughout the Cup Series this season. And that just tells you how fine of a line these setups are. You saw it with Busher and Kenseth or Keselowski a few times this year. So it's really interesting. Will John Hunter Nemechek ever win in the 42? Says OJ and Toothpaste. I don't know. He's actually pretty good at restrictor plate tracks, so you can't rule it out. And he's had some good runs here and there, but he's so Chase Briscoe, Ricky Stenhouse Jr. chaotic. Like he's either going to run good or wreck. No in between. Indianapolis stole our team. It's okay. We have the Ravens now. Says like dislike. Hey, there you go. There you go. From the Colts to the Ravens. The Ravens logo, in my opinion's a little bit better. I know that's controversial. I know there's a lot of Colts fans out there, but I do like the Ravens logo. I think it looks better than the old horseshoe there for the Colts. Colts did have like a horse jumping around or something at one point though, so they do have an alternate logo they can go to. All right. Fine. Looks like we reached the end of the chat there. Final poll results. 44% thinks that FedEx is going to leave. 38% says they're going to reduce it. 1% picked the joke that Adam Stern made it up. And 17% say it's going to be a heel turn and he sponsors either KFB or Ross Chastain or Joey Logano or whoever we said. All right. We'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace.